have pure intake, not only in terms of having very balanced, nutritious diet, but also whatever we see, whatever we hear, touch, all that, all the intake has to be pure in order to have internal purity. So this is something we have to do. That is Shuchi. Then there is Santosha, which contentment, translated roughly in English, means contentment. And it was described as lack of desire to acquire things more than what one has. Anutsaha, lack of desire to acquire things more than what one has. So, but of course we have to carefully understand it's all right for a monk or a sannyasin to be happy with whatever he or she has. But for outsider, he or she has to provide for the family. And so the needs have to be met. So you cannot have contentment when one doesn't have a decent living. One cannot tell a person to be contented with what you have when we see that that person is starving. As Sri Ramakrishna says, religion is not for an empty stomach. So when it comes to a householder, he or she has to strive to provide for the family. But as we have talked it a number of times, there is this area of or realm of needs and realm of greed. Beyond the realm of needs, there is this realm of greed, which has no end. So that each one has to draw the line where my needs end and greed begins. So long as my needs are met, one should be content. Because on that content is built the spiritual practice. Unless one is contented with what one has, the person won't have bandwidth to aspire for something higher, to aspire for spiritual wealth. That person won't have the bandwidth. And that's the reason why contentment is prescribed as one of the niyamas. When one has contentment, then one has the bandwidth. One has the, so to say, space, mental space, to seek something higher. And if we say that we will be contented only when all our desires are fulfilled, that's stupidity. It's never going to happen. And that's why this contentment comes into picture. So this Shuchi and Santosha. The third is a trio. Tapaswadhyaya, Ishvara Pranadhana. The trio of Tapaswadhyaya, this austerity, study and dedication unto God. This trio, as we have seen, had come in the beginning of this chapter also. Also it is appearing that there it was meant for Madhyamadhikaris, this is middling aspirants. Here this is for Mandadhikaris or very beginners. And tapas, we saw what it means. It means willingness or the ability to undergo hardships, to bear the heat, so to say, that is generated when we try to control ourselves, self-discipline. When we want to discipline ourselves, our mental and physical activities, a lot of obstruction from our own mind comes and all that. So it's not a very comfortable situation, but we have to put up with it and proceed. So that's why it's called ability to put up hardships. In the earlier beginning of the chapter, when this came up, one of the sub-commentators, he comments that a person who is ever cautious or conscious about his or her little bit of tidbits of bodily discomfort and immediately strives to free himself or herself from that slightest of bodily discomfort, pain, misery, whatever it is, who is very fragile, so to say, such a person is not fit for yoga. No atapasvino yoga siddhyati. That's what Vyasa had told. A person who is not willing to or has the ability to put up hardships, yoga is not for such a person. So for such delicate, people who cannot put up with even a bit of hardship, yoga is very difficult. So this putting up with hardship, and it is not meaningless hardship that we have to understand. It's meaningful hardship, hardship which come our way as a part of our life, or we want to practice some of the vratas, and as a result, those hardships come. That's how Vyasa tells, Dvandva Sahanam, that is putting up with the pairs. And he says, Ashana Pipase, there is food and drink, or hunger and thirst and all that. So when we undertake these vratas, we have to put up with all this. Ekadashi vrata, you don't eat. Shivratri, you don't eat. So hunger, we have to put up with. Thirst, we have to put up with. So all these vratas, the point is that vratas should be shastriya. We should not undertake austerity for the sake of austerity, for the sake of self-torture, so to say. Shastriya vrata, when we undertake, there will be hardships. So to put up with those, that is what tapa is. That's how Vyasa mentions it here. Put up with the hardships which come in our way as we undertake scriptural austerities. You want to do Guru Seva or Deva Seva. That's one of the part of austerity. When we want to do Seva, there will be hardships. We should be able to put up with those. Like that. So that is the tapas part, the first of the three. Then is the Swadhyaya, which is study. And it was described as Moksha Shastra Adhyanam, Pranava Japova. So Moksha Shastra Adhyana is studying the scriptures that deal with liberation, moksha, or emancipation, or God, you can say. So reading of those scriptures, studying of those scriptures, that is what is called Swadhyaya. Or he says Pranava Japa, just repetition of the name of God. Vyasa calls that also as part of Swadhyaya. And in the last class we saw why this Swadhyaya is necessary. It is necessary because as spiritual aspirants we feel, that necessity is there to have faith, Shraddha, in a particular aspect, form of God. And also a path leading to that, to the realization of that truth, or whatever, particular aspect of truth, and path leading to that particular aspect of truth, we should have Shraddha, and to have Shraddha, we should have clarity. That intellectual clarity, Vaicharaka Shuddhi, you can say, purity, that comes through Abhyasa, Swadhyaya. When we study, and that's why we should not study anything and everything. Very authentic Upanishads are there, Yoga Shastra, then Gita and Brahma Sutras, and the commentaries by traditional teachers, traditional acharyas. That's why we have to read very authentic books. We should read authentic books, authentic commentaries, and of course the incarnations and saints whose lives are very pure. Such person, there we can study that. That all that will be Moksha Shastra. So the purpose is to form for ourselves a clear idea about the reality and the path leading to that reality. We should have that clarity. And it will vary from person to person, because truth has many facets, many ways, because everyone, however clear my idea may be of the truth, after all it is my idea. It's only a perception of the truth or imagination of the truth from a person's standpoint, like the photographs of the sun. None of these is the truth, because the truth is beyond mind and opinions and ideas. So, but every one of us is trying to form an idea about the truth. Each idea is right. There is no doubt about it. But we should have faith in one particular aspect of truth, the way that appeals to our heart, and the path leading to realization of that. If we want to seriously progress in spiritual life. Like many people have this faith in Sankhya philosophy, Sankhya and Yoga, they think that they are the Purusha, the self-consciousness. And fair enough, that is any kind of philosophy we can have faith in. Hold on to it, proceed on that path. So we will be able to understand what resonates with us, where is our faith, only when we take up this study. So that is one purpose, one benefit of undertaking Swadhyaya. The other is, as we grow in spiritual life, as we take this spiritual life, problems will change. We will face different problems. The problem that we face in the beginning will be different. After some years, different problems will face, situations will change. So we need to continue this Swadhyaya to get to fresh answers to the fresh problems. Sometimes it may happen that we are reading the same text, but it will throw you new light because we have evolved. So that's why Swadhyaya is not to be given up. It has to be continued. Because the truth is there. Truth which will take us to the ultimate goal is there in those words. So we keep on reading them, thinking about them, look at the same truth from perspective of different acharyas belonging to the same sampradaya. I'm not talking of different acharyas belonging to different sampradayas, but same sampradaya. We look at it and we proceed. So when our problems change, we will get solutions. When we get fresh insights, this is a very common experience. We read gospel every day, and every day we find a different meaning. The same sentence if we come across after some months, we will have a fresh meaning about it. So that's why we need to keep up this Swadhyaya, reading of Moksha Shastra. And another meaning of this word Swadhyaya is self-introspection. That is looking into our own life. Every day, some 5-10 minutes we should spend on this, wherein we see where we are and where we are going, and what exactly is our role, and how are we spending our day, how did we spend yesterday, how are we going to spend today. Evaluation, self-introspection, self-analysis, it's very important that we undertake it every day. That's also part of Swadhyaya, because that's where we understand practically what we are doing. See, it is one thing to have faith in something, to faith in God and whatever we want. But what are we doing with our life? Is our life guided by that faith or protected by that faith, within the realm of that faith? This tallying of our life with what we believe in, with what our faith, with what we study, that is also kind of Swadhyaya. We study ourselves, we study our own lives, and we try to sync the two. That's Sri Ramakrishna says, your heart and speech should tally. So what we believe in and what we speak, what we act, all that should tally. So whether it is tallying or not, how much it is tallying, how we can improve, so all these things are part of Swadhyaya, and this is what the second of that trio and fourth of the niyamas. Shuchi Santosha Tapa Swadhyaya. The last one is Ishvara Pranidhana. Now Ishvara Pranidhana is very important discipline, niyama. It is coming here for the third time in Yoga Sutras. The first it came Ishvara Pranidhana Dva in the Samadhi Pada, in the first chapter. Then it was repeated as part of Kriya Yoga in the first sutra of this second chapter, Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. And then here third one, it is coming third time the reference as Niyama. So we can understand the importance of this Ishvara Pranidhana. In the first chapter it was interpreted as Tajjapastadartha Bhavanam. That is, repeating the name of the Lord and meditating on the Lord. It was a means to hasten the spiritual progress at a very higher level, to attain samadhi quickly, hasten the approach towards samadhi. Ishvara Pranidhana was used. There, Ishvara is endowed with that capacity to bless a yogi. So the yogi appeals to that kind of that capacity of the Ishvara, and it's a meditation on Ishvara Tattva, on Ishvara. That is how Ishvara Pranidhana was interpreted there. But here in the second chapter, it is not interpreted as meditation. It is more about Sarvakarmanam Paramagaro Ishwari Arpanam. That is dedication, offering of all actions, Sarvakarmanam, unto Paramaguru, Ishvara. According to these yogis, Ishvara is the Paramaguru. They do not have the concept of a creator God as it is there in Vedanta. For them, Sapurvesham api Guru. He is the Guru of all the Gurus, of all the ancient ones. So that's why he says Paramaguru Arpanam, offering all actions unto Guru. So this difference, as we know, the first chapter is meant for Uttamadhikaris. So a different kind of interpretation of Ishvara Pranidhana was meant. Madhyamadhikaris and Mandadhikaris, we are not competent to undertake that kind of meditation. So here it says, offer all your actions unto God. Here also God is definitely thought of, no doubt. But the focus is not on Ishvara Tattva per se, but on our dedicating our actions to God. The focus is on that. So that is the difference between the Ishvara Pranidhana of the first chapter and the second chapter. It's very significant practice. It may appear very simple, or in a short sentence, this Vyasa has explained. Something like a small key. Key is very small. It appears very small. But it opens invaluable treasures. It is like that. This concept of Ishvara Pranidhana is like that. It may appear very simple, but it opens a realm of invaluable treasures. It has that potential. That's why Ishvara Pranidhana is important. We find this referred in Gita very repeatedly. So, Mahi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma cetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatachvaraha. So, sarva karmani mahi sanyasya, by depositing, by dedicating all actions unto me. Matpara, like that it goes. So Sri Krishna is telling, Mahi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma cetasa. With a spiritual outlook, dedicate all actions unto me. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yad jihoshi dadasi yat tapasyasa kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Whatever you are doing, you are eating, you are doing sacrifice, yajna, dana, whatever, tat kurushva madarpanam. You offer it unto me. Lord is telling repeatedly, this idea comes of dedicating actions unto God. As I said, it is very potent, and it has this emphasis is laid on this particular discipline in scriptures. It is also important for us because most of the time we work. So how long can we meditate? Morning, evening, do japa, dhyana, whatever. But our major part of the day is spent in working. So if we can find a way where this work can be utilized for our spiritual benefit, that will be a great addition to our spiritual life. One part is that. The second is, if we don't do that, then it's like we are letting ourselves completely loose during the whole of the day when we are working. If we don't take refuge to this practice of Ishvara Pranidhana, then it's like we are trying to control our mind mornings and evenings when we meditate, and during the day it is left to itself. The heart and mind are left to itself. Now that will never work. That will never work. You can't just try to discipline our mind mornings and evenings and let it do whatever it wants during the course of the day. It will never work. We need this discipline throughout the day. And that is the other need of this Ishvara Pranidhana. It helps us guard ourselves throughout the day. When we are working, whatever we are doing, it doesn't matter what we are doing. So it helps us guard ourselves during the most part of the day, and during that part wherein we are most prone to go astray, go like that. So that is another point. We can guard ourselves with the help of this Ishvara Pranidhana. And the simplest of the practices, or to begin with, what many Swamijis tell, and when we come to practical application of it, we have to start from very basic things, very minimal practice. Every morning before we begin our work, we pray to God that all this work I am doing in a sense of dedication unto Thee. And at the end of the day, we again recount all things that we did and offer them unto God. God, all this work, its results, phala, and the karta, the doer, that is ourselves, everything I offer unto Thee. So this is a very basic, the beginning of, you can say, this practice of Ishvara Pranidhana, as dedication of all our actions unto God. This is the basic minimum, and then we keep improving on it. So every practice there is improvement. That is, now when you this is somewhat possible. Once in the morning, once in the night we can do. The next comes, do it as frequently as possible, whenever you remember, and that's where the problem comes. It just so happens that morning and then we are aware only of the evening. In between we just forget everything. But that is how the life is, and the mind, nature of the mind is. But then whenever we remember, we should think of God and pray to God that I am offering all this unto Thee. I am doing all this in a spirit of dedication unto Thee. And then Mother tells, when that is another little further step, you can say, whenever you start a work, you pray to God. I am doing this as a dedication unto Thee. In between the work, you pray. At the end of the work, again you say, oh Lord, accept all this work, its results, and the doer, everything you accept. Now this is because generally our day is split into smaller works. So if we are mindful, we can do this. So this is the next step. Like that, we have to keep on infusing our mind with the idea that we are doing everything in a spirit of dedication unto God. And as frequently as we can. This doesn't need us to go anywhere. Wherever we are, we can just close our eyes and pray and have that feeling. So that's how it will get infused into our life. Like Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.